He laughed at a little girl, told her mother couldn't be what she said. Then the woman walked in, and the mall went quiet. Bright fluorescent lights hum overhead, casting neat rows of shadows across racks of sneakers and shelves of shoeboxes. The faint echo of mall music filters in, a pop song with too much bass. Muffled by chatter, footsteps, and the squeak of shoes on polished tile, Amaya, 12, balances a shoebox in her hands, its glossy picture of running shoes catching the light. She sets it against her hip as she talks, casual, animated in the way kids are when they're comfortable with a friend, Amaya, holding the box. My mom's not picking me up until she's done at Fort Bragg. She's in Special Forces. Kane. Also 12 pauses mid-step. His eyebrows shoot up, half skepticism, half awe. He tugs at the strap of his backpack, leaning closer like he's not sure he heard right. Kane, eyebrows up. Wait, like, actually? With guns and stuff? Amaya shrugs as if it's no big deal, like she's said it before and gotten every possible reaction. She tilts the shoebox lid, peeks inside, then shuts it again with a small snap. Amaya shrugs casual. Yeah, Sergeant Major Nicole Richardson. She just got back from a deployment. A bearded man a few aisles away pauses, glancing over the top of a display of hiking boots. A couple of shoppers slow their browsing, ears tilting toward the conversation. The air shifts slightly. That moment when something unexpected is said in public. Off-duty officer Colton Reeves, mid-40s, stocky frame. Polo shirt tucked too tightly into jeans, stands at the clearance rack. His badge glints faintly on his belt, half hidden by his shirt. He lets out a sharp, dismissive snort, shaking his head as if he can't help himself. Reeves, loud enough for others. Special Forces? Come on. You kids say stuff like that for attention, the sound cuts sharper than intended. A chuckle follows, dry and humorless. Kane's eyes widen. Amaya freezes, a flush creeping up her cheeks. She shifts her weight, suddenly aware of the distance between herself and every adult ear turned in her direction. The camera cuts close to Amaya's face. Her lips press together, her chin dips a fraction. She doesn't look at Reeves, but her shoulders stiffen. A teenager pretending to flip through a rack of basketball shorts stops mid-motion. He leans slightly, curiosity flickering. His phone is already in hand, half raised like instinct. Reeves pushes away from the clearance rack, sneakers squeaking faintly against the tile. He steps closer, folding his arms across his chest, posture widening as though he's preparing to give a lecture no one asked for. Reeves! Grinning, condescending. You know how many times I've heard that? My dad's a Navy SEAL. My uncle flies Black Hawks. Kids love a good story. Makes him sound important. He gestures loosely with one hand, dismissive, like he's swatting at flies. His voice isn't cruel, but it carries performative, designed to pull in more ears from the shoppers nearby. Amaya keeps her eyes on the shoebox in her hands, gripping it tighter. Her knuckles press white against the cardboard. Amaya, quiet, almost to herself. It's not a story. Kane looks from her to Reeves, uncomfortable. His throat bobs with a swallow, but he doesn't speak. Reeves tilts his head, catching that whisper. His grin grows. Reeves, what's that? Not a story? Sweetheart, I've worked around real soldiers. I know what they look like. And believe me, none of them are the type to... He stops himself, the unfinished thought dangling in the air. But the implication is clear. The bearded man shifts again, a frown tugging at his mouth. He glances at Amaya, then at Reeves, but says nothing. The silence of the crowd feels complicit. Amaya's eyes flick up, meeting Reeves's for just a second. The flush on her face deepens, but behind it, a spark glimmers, shame tangled with a growing defiance. The camera lingers. Close up, her small fingers digging into the edge of the box. Another cut, Reeves's smirk, confident, unchallenged. In the background, the faint hiss of the mall's sliding doors carries, unnoticed by most, but about to shift the entire room. M. Reeves. I've worked with real soldiers, not stories. Not made-up heroes, not... He drags his eyes deliberately up and down Amaya, voice thick with doubt. Reeves. People like your mom. The words land heavy. A ripple moves through the small crowd forming in the aisles. Shoppers, pretending to browse, now hover between racks, eyes sliding sideways. A father laces up a sneaker on the bench, stops mid-knot. Amaya stiffens. The shoebox trembling slightly in her hands. Amaya, voice trembling. You don't know her. Her voice cracks. almost swallowed by the store's overhead speakers playing tinny pop music. For a moment, it seems like Reeves might back off, but instead he smirks wider, enjoying the spotlight. Reeves, smug kids, make up things. My boy used to say his dad was Spider-Man. Cute, but not real. The laugh that follows is hollow, bouncing off shelves of neon-colored cleats. Kane shifts uncomfortably beside Amaya, glancing between her and the officer, caught between defending his friend and wanting to disappear. Around them, shoppers grow uneasy. A small cluster edges closer, not to intervene, but to witness. A woman, clutching a red clearance basket, pauses near the aisle, her brows knit together. Woman mutters, "Leave the kid alone." But her words are soft, not quite strong enough to cut through. She looks down quickly as if regretting even that. Amaya's breath quickens. She presses the shoebox against her stomach like a shield. Her knuckles whiten against the cardboard edges, the tension in her grip betraying the storm inside her small frame. Reeves steps forward another inch, his voice louder now, theatrical. He plays to the growing audience, not the girl in front of him. Reeves, taunting. "If your mom is really special forces, have her swing by the station. We'll have a laugh." He chuckles again, the kind of laugh that fills space but carries no warmth. The air in the store tightens. The faint sound of sneakers squeaking across tiles seems to echo louder. A teenager near the back, phone already in hand, flicks his camera open. The red record light glows as he steadies his grip, sensing something viral brewing. Amaya bites her lip. Her eyes glisten, but she doesn't let the tears fall. Her jaw works, holding words she can't quite shape into sound. She stares at the floor, then at Reeves's shoes, as if anchoring herself in the smallest, least dangerous thing in the frame. The camera lingers on her trembling lip, then pulls back, widening, revealing the circle of onlookers. Their silence is suffocating, complicit. A few exchange looks, uncomfortable, but no one speaks above a whisper. Reeves folds his arms, puffing his chest, convinced of his authority. His badge glints when his shirt shifts, catching the overhead light like a warning. He mistakes the silence for validation, for power. Amaya, barely audible to herself. She is real. The words slip out. Fragile, almost a prayer. She looks up then, eyes locking on Reeves. Her face is a storm of fear and defiance, a child unwilling to surrender her truth, even as the weight of adult doubt crashes over her. A beat of silence. The store seems to hold its breath. The crowd watches. Many eyes, many screens, but few voices. The tension is alive, heavy in the stale mall air, and then, faint but distinct, the muffled hiss of the mall entrance doors opening. A new rhythm enters the scene, deliberate, measured footsteps approaching. Boots against tile, unnoticed at first. But the sound is growing. A deliberate tracking shot follows Nicole Richardson, mid-40s. Her uniform is immaculate, every crease sharp, her ribbons and insignia perfectly aligned. A beret rests neatly in her hand. She doesn't hurry, but every line of her posture radiates control. Shoppers in her path instinctively step aside without being asked. Conversations dip. The weight of her presence spreads before she even reaches the store entrance. Inside the sporting goods store, the crowd that gathered around Amaya shifts, eyes turning toward the sound. The murmurs ripple. Who's that? Is she? A phone camera swings to catch the approaching figure. Amaya's head snaps up. Her eyes widen in relief that softens into something fiercer. Her grip on the shoebox loosens just slightly, and her lips part. Amaya. Relief. Barely audible. Mom. The word cuts through the charged silence like a lifeline. Nicole crosses the threshold into the store, her boots echoing against the tile floor, then stopping just shy of the circle where Amaya stands across from Reeves. She scans the space with practiced precision, her daughter's damp eyes, Reeves's stiff stance, the crowd with their half-raised phones, the unspoken tension. Her face doesn't harden. It settles into composure. Nicole stops, assesses. What's happening here? Her voice is calm, even, but it lands with the weight of command. People in the crowd instinctively straighten. Reeves, caught off guard, shifts on his feet. He forces a thin smile, adjusting the polo over his badge as though to remind everyone of his own authority. Reeves tries to smile. Evening, ma'am. Clearing up a little misunderstanding. Nicole's eyes never leave his. Her tone doesn't rise, but the accusation is clear in her words. Nicole, eyes fixed on Reeves. Calm, he laughed at my daughter. Called her a liar in public. The crowd murmurs louder now. A few phones are raised higher. The camera cuts between close-ups, the insignia on Nicole's chest catching the fluorescent light. Amaya's tear-lined lashes, Reeves's jaw tightening under scrutiny. Reeves raises his hand slightly in a defensive gesture. His grin faltering. Reeves, defensive. She was exaggerating, ma'am. Kids do that. Amaya flinches at his words, her shoulders curling in. Nicole notices, and the smallest detail doesn't escape her. She takes a single step forward, closing the space between herself and Reeves. Nicole steps closer, tone controlled. Exaggerating is saying your cat is taller than a refrigerator. She pauses, letting the words sink in. Her eyes stay locked on his. Nicole. Telling the truth about who your parent is, that's not imagination. The silence that follows is heavier than shouting. Ambient mall noise seems to fade out. The beat of her words hangs in the air, echoing across the racks of sneakers and winter coats. Reeves shifts again, uncomfortable under the weight of her presence. His arms uncross, then cross again, restless. He glances at the crowd, realizing too late that he no longer controls the room. The camera cuts to Amaya. Her lips tremble, but her chin lifts, courage rekindled by the quiet shield of her mother's voice. Then to Reeves, the sweat beginning to bead at his temple. The crowd watches with rapt attention, caught between discomfort and awe. Every breath feels recorded, every angle preserved in the lenses of phones. Nicole doesn't raise her voice. She doesn't need to. Her authority comes not from volume, but from the stillness that demands attention. The calm before a storm Reeves doesn't realize he's standing in the center of. Nicole, you chose to make my daughter's truth a joke. Why? Because you couldn't fit her into the picture, you know. Her voice is steady, not raised, but it carries a weight that quiets the restless shifting of the crowd. The fluorescent lights hum overhead, a mechanical buzz underscoring the silence that follows. People lean in without meaning to, drawn by the composure in her tone, a sharp contrast to the brittle defensiveness lingering in Reeves's voice. Reeves swallows hard. His jaw works as he looks around, searching for some foothold. The badge stitched on his shirt suddenly feels less like armor and more like a brand. Reeves. Frustrated. Stumbling. I didn't say anything about race. I just thought she was lying. The words tumble out uneven. Rushed, an explanation more than an excuse. But the crowd doesn't soften. The camera finds Amaya, her lips pressed tight, her eyes locked on him, with a steadiness that wasn't there before. Every tremble in her body has shifted into something firmer, a quiet demand that he see her. Nicole doesn't blink. She doesn't rush. She studies him the way a field officer studies terrain, patient, exacting, leaving no cover for him to hide behind. Then she leans in just slightly, her voice lowering but cutting sharper for it. Nicole, soft but firm. Intent doesn't erase damage. She doesn't look away from him, but her words land on the crowd too. A mother holding a toddler pauses in the aisle, her cart forgotten. A teenager lowers his phone for a moment, caught by the gravity of the line. Nicole. You made a child small in a crowd. Her voice stays calm, almost gentle, but it carries the undeniable steel of authority. Nicole. You owe her more than an excuse. Reeves's shoulders sag. His fingers flex against his hips. He turns reluctantly to Amaya. His eyes flicker unsteady, but for once he doesn't look past her. He sees her. The camera lingers on her face, the slight rise of her chin, the determined way she doesn't look away. The murmurs from the crowd thicken, low and restless, until finally someone breaks the line between watching and speaking. Woman, voice wavering then stronger. That's enough. She's a child. It's the woman with the clearance basket who whispered earlier but kept her head down. Now she stands taller, the weight of silence too heavy to carry. She clutches the basket tight against her chest, but her voice gains momentum with every word. A few others nod, murmuring agreement. The tide shifts, Reeves exhales, forced. His chest rises and falls quickly, the rhythm uneven. The confidence he carried earlier is gone, stripped under the collective gaze. He looks at Amaya again. His words come out halting, not polished, but there's no way to dodge anymore. Reeves, uneasy. Amaya, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have laughed. I was wrong. The apology isn't grand. It doesn't erase the sting of what came before. But in the air of the store, with the crowd surrounding them and Nicole standing guard, it lands with a weight greater than its size. The camera stays on Amaya. She doesn't rush. She breathes in, lets it out slowly, then gives the smallest nod. Not forgiveness, not yet, but acknowledgement that her truth has been heard. Nicole watches, her expression unreadable at first, then softening at the corners. She takes a measured step forward, not toward Reeves, but toward the center of the circle, claiming the space for her daughter. Nicole, quiet to the crowd. We let assumptions fill in for listening. The words ripple outward, settling into the silence. The store is hushed. Even the hum of the lights seems muted, as though the moment bends the air itself. Nicole. Today it was this child. Tomorrow someone else's truth. She looks from face to face. The woman with the basket, the teenager with the phone, the man near the sneakers who hasn't said a word, but hasn't looked away either. Nicole. Imagine what we'd miss if we never gave a chance to believe. Her words linger, not just sound, but weight. The crowd doesn't erupt, doesn't cheer. Instead, a collective stillness holds. A teenager finally lowers his phone, eyes flickering with something closer to respect than voyeurism. The woman with the basket nods once, firmly, as though sealing her choice to speak. Reeves lowers his gaze, shoulders pulled in, the posture of someone finally stripped of his shield. Amaya stands taller, her mother at her side, the box of shoes still clutched in her hands, no longer a prop of fragility, but a symbol of the truth that started it all. The camera pulls back slowly, capturing the tableau, mother, daughter, crowd, the officer whose authority shrank in the presence of truth. The store hums with silence that isn't empty. It's full, resonant, alive with the weight of what's just been spoken. Nicole and Amaya walk side by side through the mall's sliding doors, their pace measured, unhurried. The evening air greets them, cooler than the fluorescent-lit corridors behind. The glass doors hiss closed, shutting away the murmurs and shifting crowd that remain inside. For a moment, it feels like the world has quieted just for them. Kane and Callan trail behind, giving space, their sneakers scuffing lightly against the pavement. They don't speak. Their silence carries both respect and the lingering awe of what they just witnessed. They exchange brief glances, the kind that silently asks, "Did that really just happen?" Nicole walks with her beret still in hand, her uniform as precise as when she entered, but now softened by the way her free hand settles gently on Amaya's shoulder. It isn't just reassurance. It's an anchor, a steadying presence after the storm. Amaya leans into the touch without breaking stride, her grip still tight on the shoebox she never let go of. Nicole, placing a hand on Amaya's shoulder, "You stood tall." That was brave. You don't ever have to shrink for someone else's doubt. Her words are low, meant only for her daughter, but in the night air they carry an intimacy the cameras inside couldn't touch. Nicole glances down at her child, no longer trembling but composed. Her steps syncing with her mother's, Amaya. Quiet, proud. "I promise I won't." Her voice is soft, but there's a strength beneath it. The kind that comes not from defiance but from being seen. The promise hangs between them, tender and unshakable. They reach the car, a simple sedan parked under the glow of a flickering street lamp. The parking lot hums with the ordinary, the distant cart clatter, a muffled laugh from a group leaving the food court, headlights sweeping across asphalt. Yet for the four of them, everything feels subtly altered, as though the space itself acknowledges what unfolded. Nicole unlocks the doors with a click. She opens the back seat first, a quiet gesture of care, letting Amaya slip inside with her shoebox. Kane and Callan climb in after, still wordless, but their eyes never leave Amaya, admiration shining in their expressions. For them, she has become something larger than a friend. She is proof of courage. Nicole circles to the driver's side. Before getting in, she pauses, glancing back once at the mall entrance. The glass doors gleam under harsh lights, reflecting only the surface of normalcy. But inside, people will carry the weight of what they saw. Some ashamed, some inspired, all changed in ways small or large. Nicole slides into the driver's seat, adjusts the mirror, and starts the engine. The hum of the car blends with the quiet rhythm of breath inside. She looks briefly at Amaya through the mirror, the corners of her mouth softening into a faint, proud smile, Ed. When someone tries to laugh you out of your truth, remember, truth doesn't need permission. If this story mattered to you, if you believe standing up for a child, for a neighbor, for the truth matters, subscribe and share. Join the conversation. Let's make silence costlier than an apology.